You know those power problems I was talking about? Pretty sure my turbo just let go. It looks like it's going to be either a couple day ordeal or it might be another long road trip in the Dodge. Yesterday, my dealer overnight ordered the turbo from Reno, Nevada. Now, what do you think Case IH did? Did they stick it on an airplane to actually get it here overnight? No, they stuck it on a truck line. So you'll be looking at a week or more before my turbo gets here. So on the plan B, taking a 6.5 hour trip north to Pilot Grove, Iowa, pick it up, hopefully be back home by midnight, have my turbo on tomorrow morning about 24 hours after I planned on actually having it turned on. Alright guys, I'm about to fire it up.
What did you say?
I said I'm about to fire it up. You're gonna get a face full of dust unless you move the truck.
Okay, go for it.
Alright. Got her good and warmed up. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Alright, pulled the slugs through. Let's see if we got any more power. Well, so far so good.
It all looks good and sounds good back here. Is everything working all right up there?
Yeah, I think it's like I upgraded combines.
Well, I mean that's pretty good. I wonder how long those bands and stuff have been kind of ribbon on it in that area.
Watch the exhaust, let me know how much black smoke's coming out of there. Hopefully it's not going to smoke as bad as it was.
Yeah, it's right over 9 there now.
Alright, good. I mean, it's pulling 90% engine load, 100% engine load. And it's like these stems all of a sudden just magically just dried up. They're not rumbling or anything. She's pulling good.
All you can see is the heat coming out of the stack. Almost zero smoke.
And it's not building as much boost, it doesn't seem like, but it sure feels like it got more power. Alright, here's a real test. Some big, tall, tough beans. Oh, it pulled that slug through there like it wasn't nothing. Yeah, the responsiveness of that turbo is a lot better. Like we're pulling 100% engine power, but not building as much boost. Normally that'd be above 50, but she's definitely a lot more responsive. All right, I feel better. Looks like we may have this problem whooped here. So let me finish getting these this top beam plate laid off. I'm gonna call UT, see if they can bring the weigh wagon on out here, see if we can set a record yield for Tennessee this afternoon.
The joys of having to find the combine. I don't know why it is so bumpy out here. Whatever you want to call it, suspension thing ain't working again. The accumulator that probably needs to be charged, like 4 months ago. This is what it's like. Oh look, there he is. I came all the way around. Look at these beans laid over, they're so tall. Like the front field is all laid over. Oh look, way over there. That's a new subdivision going in. Yay!
Alright, we just got started on our plots. Pretty strong number right here. Come on, hit that triple digits, baby. Come on. Give me 100. Ah, you rascal. But anyway, UT Extension has already measured off the distance. I've got to cut 3 acres, and we got flags on each end where I started. So I've got to cut basically 4.5 header widths across the plot to get our 3 acres and then measure it. This is actually a different spot than what I was planning. It's still the same field, but I was planning on doing it in the back, which historically has been some of my strongest yielding ground. This is a little bit sandier up here, but I started cutting the inrows on here. It's like, man, this is better than what's back there in the back. So we're going to try this first and see what it is, and then we might still cut that one back there just on the off chance it's a little higher, and we'll just turn in the highest yielding one. But I feel pretty good about my chances, you know, other than dipping down into the 80s a couple of times, it's staying 90 and above. So we got a mighty good spot of beans here. Might be a contender. Now, if you look at all those beans, they're all leaning towards me. So rather than going back and forth, I'm going to deadhead all the way to the other end and cut them all from that direction, because they just go into the header so much better. That reel doesn't have to beat on them to pull them back up and over and back into the header. So we should have less header loss that way. Oh yeah, we hit triple digits, just barely, but we hit it. You just ain't consistently going to do it, are you? You knocking on the door. All right, first unload, because my combine doesn't look like it's going to hold 3 acres. That's a really good sign. I think my combine holds somewhere around 280 bushels of soybeans or so. Alright, this header pass I expect to be really good, because while they're definitely leaning hard, they're not quite as flat as what they were on these other passes. Man, you're just not going to go over that 100 bushel mark. There we go, got 101. Yep, this is a strong pass, all right, real strong pass. This last pass is pulling me down. It's dipping into the 70s, unfortunately. Dang. That's the problem with trying to do competition yield plots, is consistency. You know, one pass, you know, there can be a 15 bushel difference swing in yield, one pass to the next.
Go get Carter.
There can be a 15 bushel difference from one pass to the next. Crap. Yeah, we get back up there, but still, this last pass, it's going to hurt the overall yield. Still mighty respectable, but I'm hoping to get above 90, and I just don't know if we're going to average above 90 on this. Well, the official number, I believe, is 91.12 bushels per acre. First time I ever broke a 90 on a competition plot, so I'm happy about that. Man, I was hoping it was going to be a few bushels higher. I really have my doubts that that's going to be enough to win. I think, I don't know if I'm in the Northwest Division or the Southwest Division, kind of right there on that line, but it's still a respectable yield, just a fraction shy of what I was hoping. But we got this second one up here. I don't think it's going to be quite as high as this one. I think it's going to be mid to high 80s, but we'll cut it, see what it does. You never know, why surprise us? I bet if I didn't have to do 3 acres and I didn't have to cut that last pass, it'd been up there right around 95, because that last pass was you know, it was in the mid 70s to low 80s all the way down through there. And I cut 5 passes total, and that last pass just killed me.
Can you tell me what your yield was on those?
Yeah, that second one was actually surprising. The first one came in at 91.17 bushels per acre, and the second plot came in at 91.1 bushels per acre.
Oh wow, that's definitely, they're saying something nobody's really been over 80 yet. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty honest yield. I replicated it twice in the same field. Yeah, y'all heard right. I thought that second plot was just probably going to be in the mid 80s, but it surprised me. 91.1 bushels, whereas the first plot was 91.17 bushels. How's that for consistency? I'm mighty tickled. So this plot, the second plot was larger than the first one. First one was like almost 3.2 acres. The second plot wound up being 3.7 acres, averaging 91 bushels an acre across 7 acres. That's pretty impressive. That's definitely the highest I've ever done in a competition plot. I think my previous high was something like 88 bushels an acre maybe. But again, here's the thing. I didn't do anything special to these plots whatsoever. Virtually no foliar fertilizer outside of some boron at my fungicide. No extra fertilizer on the fertility program. I didn't even have chicken litter on this because I couldn't get any chicken litter. None of this other stuff that the people in competitions use. So I mean, that just goes to show you what's actually possible with just good, sound management, basic strategy. Soil health, good fertility, early planting, a fungicide if it needs it. We didn't even spray an insecticide on this because at the time, the insect pressure was not there. We had a relatively light insect year this year, especially stink bugs, which that's usually one of the bigger problem insects that we're facing in soybeans, and they were just virtually non-existent this year in soybeans. We didn't see them very much in cotton. So to make big yields, you don't need all that other stuff. Does it potentially help in certain situations? Yeah, there's no doubt. Could I squeeze a few more bushels out of these if I more intensively manage them with foliar fertilizers, tissue testing, stress reliever, all that kind of stuff that a lot of the competition guys do? I probably could have. But 91 bushels an acre is possible with just your basic sound principles. And like I was saying earlier in this video or last video, the number one biggest driver on yield in soybeans is sunlight. Maximize your planting date. Find out what the planting date is for the maturity that you're planting to maximize sunlight interception for them to start blooming before the longest day of the year. That's the number one biggest thing that you can do to increase your soybean yields. And then of course, rains at the right time. That's another big yield driver. We did not have a wet summer by any stretch of the imagination, but we had just enough rain at just the right times when it was needed. Soybeans don't mind stress, especially early on. Stress can actually help yields. You don't really want stress during pod fill, and for the most part, we really didn't have much stress. We had some there at the very tail end, but for the most of the reproductive stage, we had good conditions. But the number one takeaway that I learned from doing this year is, we don't have very many full season beans. Most of our soybeans are double crop beans. This year we had 140 acres of full season beans. Next year probably going to be a little less than that. I can get that planted in a day and a half. So, but I'm going to have quite a bit of corn. Might take me 4 or 5 days to plant corn. So what I'm going to do next year is I'm going to delay my corn by a day or two, and I'm going to go ahead and plant my full season beans, because most likely I'm going to make more income off of planting my soybeans 4, 5, 6 days earlier than what I would potentially lose by delaying my corn by a day to a day and a half. And not only that, soybeans do handle adverse planting conditions a little bit better than corn does. I've seen that time and time again, especially when you're talking about a little bit cooler temperatures. All right, we just got done with the Porter Cable field, heading over here to our last farm. Got our we got our Pioneer variety plots over there, plus also our Utrisha soybean plots. We'll try and get out first thing tomorrow morning. So before the sunset gets too damp, we're going to try and get all those plots laid off where we can get after them first thing tomorrow morning, and hopefully don't have any problems and wrap up our soybeans fairly early tomorrow afternoon. We got a cotton picker we need to go pick up. I don't know if we'll do it either tomorrow or Saturday or first thing Monday morning. We got to get it back and do a little figuring out on it before cotton's ready to pick next week. Ah, beautiful morning in the city limits of Jackson, Tennessee. What y'all say we go ahead and get these soybeans wrapped up? We got other things to do. I can blow out my combine daily. I can blow out the air filters for the cab daily. I can wipe this thing down multiple times daily. And this soybean dust, it just never goes away. I mean, it is literally everywhere. It is the worst kind of dust. It's even worse than Milo dust. It's fuzzy, it's itchy, and it stays with you all day. It takes me 2 to 3 days worth of showers to get it all off of me. I hate soybean dust. You just cannot get rid of it. All right, we're going to start today with some plot work. Got our Pioneer variety plots out here, and then we got our Utrisha biological plots. So we're going to get them harvested, and maybe I'll have some results for you whenever I come back. Well, I just got me an armadillo. I saw him run out of his hole, and I slammed that hydrostat all the way forward. I choked up my combine, but I got me an armadillo. One less of those little boogers to worry about. Good thing about these flagship combines, they're super easy to unplug. I shouldn't even have to get out of the cab. All right, just engage the rotor deslug. Now just rock the rotor back and forth till it clears out. I might have to get out and kick it into a lower gear. She's in there pretty tight. I'm dropping my concaves. Alright, let's see if we can bust her loose now. Alright, I think we might have her now. You can see it kicking it out in the mirror. Alright, now we'll kick her on for good here. Alright, close my concaves back up and go back to cutting, knowing we got one less freaking armadillo to deal with out here digging holes. Alright guys, you can see just got done with all of our plot work, so all we got left to do is finish up this field. Our beans will be wrapped up. Alright, the results of the plots, variety plots did good. Some of the longer season stuff did not have as good of a stand and had a significantly lower yield. You know, our favorite variety, 48A14E, that we know for sure is one of the top varieties around, it didn't do well in Texas just because of poor population. It's kind of like in a little swell of wetter area and just didn't have good stand. But once it got into the earlier season, got into a little bit better drained soil, and they really showed out. Looks like we're going to have a few varieties go over 100 bushels an acre. These Utrisha plots, which if you haven't been watching this all summer, Utrisha is a biological product from Corteva, that it's basically a bacteria that has a symbiotic relationship with the host plant to fix atmospheric nitrogen, take it out of the air and put it in a plant available form to give the plant more additional nitrogen. And anyway, we applied it before it went into reproductive mode. On our corn plots, we saw, I think, like a 2 bushel per acre increase, which doesn't cover the cost of the application. And on this, I'll have to look at the final numbers, but the preliminary results is there was no difference. If anything, the untreated part yielded more than the treated, but we had treated and untreated, each of them replicated 4 times to try and give us a real good scientific result. And you know, it just, I didn't see anything to make me say, hey, I want to try it again next year. So, not saying that the product doesn't work, but it didn't work for me under my management practices in this year. So, and if it didn't work on 85 to 90 bushel beans that really need supplemental nitrogen to achieve higher yields, then I have my doubts that it's going to work at all. But you know, soybeans is a legume, and it produces its own nitrogen through rhizobia bacteria in the soil that form nodules on the roots and take atmospheric nitrogen and provide it to the plant. And this other bacteria is supposed to do kind of the same thing. But the rhizobia in the soil are limited into how much nitrogen they can actually produce. So it makes sense in a really high yield environment, the soybean's gotten all the nitrogen it can from the rhizobia. If it gets any additional nitrogen from other sources, could lead to higher yields, and that's kind of where the Utrisha comes in. Several years ago, in some more high yielding beans, they were 80 bushel beans, I tried applying I think it's 50 pounds of urea mixed with ammonium sulfate at R1 stage to try and boost yields. And in those trials, we did see increased yields, but it was only increased enough just to cover the cost of application. There was no extra profit potential in those beans. You know, all we did was pay for the fertilizer and the cost of the spreader to come out and apply it. So I think there's still a lot more work to be done with biologicals, finding the right biological that work, and you know, providing additional nitrogen to soybeans to really try and hit those high yields. But I don't really think there's anything out there now that can definitely say, yeah, this is going to give you a really high probability of increasing your yields. We just need to do a lot more research and understand a lot more about the biological processes, all this stuff that's going on in the soil and stuff like that, before I could give you any kind of definite recommendation. Again, just like I said yesterday, you want high yields, focus on the basics, focus on the things that have been proven. Planting date, right variety, building your soil up to provide nutrients and moisture to your crop, and hoping you get plenty of sunlight with not too many cloudy days. Those are the things that's proven that's going to make you the most bang for your buck. All this other stuff, supplemental stuff out of a jug, it can potentially help in certain situations, but it costs a lot, and the likelihood of it improving your yields is not going to be as great as just plain old focusing on the basics and the things that have been proven. Well, I'm sure glad to see that sun peeking out. It has been tough cutting this morning. Been cloudy, damp, beans running about 15.5% moisture. And all I've done is hear this rotor rumble at me all morning long. I mean, we're cutting 2.8, 2.9 miles an hour, over 100% engine load, and it's just growling. I mean, to show you how damp it is, like all the pods, the soybean pods that's coming out the back of the combine, normally they're like ground up almost into dust. They're coming out almost whole. One thing combines do not like is green, wet stuff going through it. It just kind of ropes up, you know, it doesn't grind up, and it just takes a lot of power on a rotor machine anyway. Conventional combines handle wet conditions a whole lot better without needing a bunch of excessive power. Hopefully that sun will go ahead and dry these up. We can pick up a little bit more ground speed and get the rest of this knocked out. I was definitely wanting to get done before dark, get stuff moved back to the shop. But in order to do that, these things going to have to dry out just a little. All right, we got these beans wrapped up. This is the last of it. And man, these beans have been, these are the best beans I've ever cut in my life. According to my yield monitor, we're going to be somewhere around that 79, 80 bushel mark across, all 140 acres. Just absolutely fantastic. I was hoping we would have some right up there around the 100 bushel mark, but that's so extremely hard to do, especially when you do minimal inputs like us. So anyway, we got about another 3-4 acre field up here on top of the hill, some double crop beans. We got room in the truck. These are about ready. They're short, not going to be yielding that high. They'll probably be popped out by the time we get back over here. So we're going to cut that field, load up everything, carry this back to the shop, and this weekend we're going to be planting cover crop on this field. Not going to show y'all that. Y'all have already seen us run that drill quite a bit. And then next week, hopefully there's no grain or combine in the video. I'm hoping it's going to be all cotton picker. That's the plan anyway. Yes sir, we got some cotton getting close to ready to go. They done all the work they're going to be able to do this fall on my cotton picker Tennessee tractor. So we're going to go get it picked up and see if we can try and get that beast figured out, and maybe, just maybe, good Lord smiling on us, we'll spit out a few modules at some point next week. So y'all be sure to stay tuned. It ought to be exciting. One way or the other, it's going to be exciting. So anyway, appreciate y'all watching. We'll see you on the next one.